Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody here with my, ninth layout with my November kit. This one is called The Little Snow Boy. And if you can see kind of to the right, there is a 5x7 photo of Kaylin out in the snow in front of the truck, helping me, helping me clean off the truck. So he's got my little earmuffs on and his curly hair is sticking out the top. So I just thought he's just such a cute little boy. And so it's kind of like the little snow boy. So I have this kind of grayish, it's a textured cardstock. So it actually has a pattern paper on the other side, I believe, or it's another color, but it's a textured cardstock. So it's not really just a plain cardstock. It's more of a pattern paper than it is cardstock, but it's from SEI, and it wasn't exactly 12 by 12, and it had a white border strip on one side. So I just matted it on another piece of white cardstock and cut it to be 12 by 12. So there's a white border on one side and a larger white border on the other side. Now I matted my photo. The only mat I really have are these doilies. I just like them. I thought they kind of add to the whimsical feel of the snow, and then I cut them apart a little bit so I would have enough to go on the top right of the layout as well. Now my thought process was I have all of these strips, a lot of scraps left, and then like these ribbons and washi tapes. So I'm going to lay them out and make like strips across the main part of my layout here, and that's where I'm going to put my photo. So I guess you could say the photo is kind of matted on all of these strips, but not really. I feel like the photo is on top of all these strips, not really matted with it. I'm laying them all out first, just kind of getting an idea of how I want to put these down. It's going to take me quite a while to do this. And this layout took me about an hour and a half, or a little over an hour and a half. But it really was a great way to utilize what I had left in this kit. I'm starting to near the end, and I don't have a whole lot left, but I do have a lot of scraps. So I'm going to use them as best I can. And I really stuck to the gray and blue tones of these not strips, of these scraps that I have in my kit, and that's what I'm going to use for the basis of this layout. I'm using ribbon, I'm using pattern paper, cardstock, specialty papers like the corrugated paper and this embossed silver metallic paper. I'm going to use some washi tapes. And I think that's it. Oh, and vellum. I forgot about the vellum, and using the vellum. And then I am going to add a bit of stitching at the end. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do right now, but I am going to add a bit of the stitching. Now, I'm going to kind of trim the corners of these a bit and make them have a little bit more interest. And I'm just using my ruler to line up one of the strips, and then I'll line up the rest of them according to that. I'm finally actually kind of over my sickness. It took me quite some time, and I've kind of taken a break from doing the voiceovers. Gosh, you guys won't notice a difference because I have them scheduled out a bit. But I took off about 2 weeks from doing the voiceovers. I was quite a bit ahead on my voiceovers, which was really nice because now that the holidays are kind of here, it's hard to sometimes catch up on everything when you got a lot going on. So it was nice to kind of be ahead on my voiceovers. And now I have a lot of videos. I think I have about 10 videos recorded and ready for me to do the voiceovers on. So that'll take me well into December here. I have a December project coming up that I can't wait to share with you guys. I've already kind of started it, but I have it off to the side. It is a Christmas gift for my sisters, so I don't really want to post it too far ahead of Christmas. I'm going to kind of save those layouts till more so in December. But I am working on them already. You just won't see them posted here quite yet. But I'm very pleased with how they're turning out. I will say it's extremely difficult to scrapbook for somebody else when you're doing your own scrapbooks. You know the stories, you know what, like little label word strips and stuff kind of match the story. It's a bit different whenever you're scrapbooking someone else's photos, and you don't know the story that goes along with it. So it's been kind of interesting. It took me quite a while to get used to it the first kind of go round, the first few layouts. But now that I'm further into it, it's a little bit easier, but I'm still getting used to it. Now these strips, and you can see I'm using washi tape. Excuse me. It's I'm just kind of varying. I'm trying to go from blue to gray to white tones to different tones of blue, silver. So I'm just kind of alternating a bit and kind of building this up. I really like the way this turned out. I've done this a few times in different ways, and I really enjoy the way that it looks. I need to kind of do this more often. Whenever I start to get stuck in my layouts, I should just pull out my albums and kind of flip through and see what I hadn't done in a while. That would probably be better. So what you saw me do there is my ribbon was slightly too short. So I just kind of cut it in the middle where I knew it was going to be covered up by the photo, and I moved the other part over. And see, that's where I keep testing my photo just to make sure that everything kind of is going to be covered in the proper place. And a good portion of these strips gets covered up at the end, but I really like how it turned out. It's not too bold, and I am kind of varying the ends. Some of them are cut at diagonal, some of them are cut at kind of a fishtail, some of them are cut straight, some of the washi's are just torn off, and this ribbon I'm actually going to overlap on top of that washi tape. And that washi tape, you can't see it from here, and it's a very fine pattern, so you may not even be able to tell in the final photos, but I will put still photos at the end. It's kind of a bit difficult to tell there as well, but it has a little grid pattern on it, and it has a little heart and then the letters LOVE kind of alternating into the little grid blocks. It just reminds me of kind of like Scrabble in a sense, because they're in the grid blocks. All right, so this is pretty much almost the end. I'm just adding a small bit right here on the very top to kind of end that washi tape. The washi tape seems like it kind of gets lost a bit in the background paper, so these little gray strips kind of end that part of the pattern for me. So here's where I'm going, okay, what can I do with this stitching? Because I really want to add a bit of stitching, but I'm not sure how. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this diagonal kind of like stitched pattern and put it down here at the bottom. And it will take me quite a bit to actually get this stitched, so I'll stop the camera so you don't have to watch me do all the stitching, but it's going to look like this. And I just used a bit of washi tape to lay down so it wouldn't move when I was punching the holes. And I'm doing this across the whole bottom of the very bottom strip, and it kind of encases that bottom edge of that last strip, and it just gives it an overlapping element, but it also kind of gives it a bit of grounding at the bottom instead of just all these strips floating. And then I am going to do an arrow pattern at the top. Both of them are going to be stitched with this dark gray, and I do separate my threads, and here's where I'm kind of ending it. So you don't have to watch it at all. It's been the same bit of stitching that I've been doing the whole time. But you can see there's a diagonal pattern at the bottom and then an arrow pattern at the top. Excuse me. And I'm just backing my photo here just to kind of give a bit of stability, and so that I can glue the entire thing without having to overlap the doilies or put glue directly on the doilies. I'm going to line my title back up. These are those Pen Pal, what are they called? I want to say Pebbles. Why am I like drawing a blank? I think it's Pebbles. But they're the Pen Pal letters, and it just says The Little Snow Boy. And I'm just using my Tombow Mono to adhere it. I really like this. This is perfect for this type of project, these type of alphas. It adheres really well to the chipboard, and then of course that adheres really easily to the paper. And I'm just kind of staggering these words to kind of make it look like a banner. I could have put string behind them, but that was going to be a little bit too much, and it never turns out looking right for me. So I am going to put a little tiny white bow at the left of the T on thee, and then at the Y on boy. So it's kind of like the beginning and the end. Sorry, I just got a message. If you heard that buzzing, that was my phone. I apologize. And then the gray arrows at the top kind of draw your eye to the title. Looking at it right now, I kind of wish I had put the V a little bit closer to the right. It looks slightly unbalanced to me, but the doily kind of fills in that little hole, so it's not a big deal. It just seems like it would look a little bit better to the right, but it's glued down now and I'm not changing it, so we're good. I really like the way that it looks though. These dark blue, navy, banner, alphas fit really well with the theme of the layout, the color scheme of the layout. And I'm just making these little tiny white bows with this white embroidery floss that I had. All right, and it just kind of enhances the bow effect or the banner effect of the title. So now to embellishing, and there's really not a ton of embellishing on this layout, and it's just because there's a lot going on in the background. It was a little too, if you add too much, then it's going to seem overpowering. So I'm adding a few of these gems. These are rhinestones, and I have to cut them apart. I never use them as a big sheet or as a big embellishment, but I do cut them apart and use all the little rhinestones individually. It's a great way to kind of use it up and not waste it. You just have to cut the little like adhesive strip that it's on, which is no big deal. There's some little tiny bright blue ones that I'm using, and I'm just putting them in a few places. I put that little circle down there because I thought I could just use it as a whole piece, but it seems weird. Like it just seems weird, so I'm going to move that. And actually put something overlapping right there anyways. I have this You're My Favorite Dude. It's white and navy, and it looks like it was punched out of like a larger sheet, so I just kind of cut off those little notches, and I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back. And that is from a Bella Boulevard set. You can see it right there to the bottom left. I think it's just called Boy, the Boy set. And I thought about tying a white piece of thread over it, and it actually would have looked okay if I had made it long enough to tie a bow, but it's not long enough, and just tying it like that looks weird, so it will be coming off here shortly. It was a thought. It would have been kind of cool to do. Just trying out a couple other embellishments that I have. I have these little gray cameras that I cut out of a Bella Boulevard paper, so that's going to get tucked right there to the left of the photo. And that's also where I'm going to put another label, and it's from Ellie's Studio, and it says Walking in a Winter Wonderland, which is totally fitting since we're in the snow. And then I have this gray tag that's going to get tucked up right there, and then another one that I'm going to make out of a vellum scrap as well, just to add two tags sticking out right there. I'm continuing to look at what I have and see if there's anything else that I can do that's really going to actually add to this layout. The background is a bit bold, so it's sometimes hard to add on top of something that's so bold. And you don't want it to be too cluttered looking. And since there are a lot of different competing patterns in the background, it could very easily get pretty busy. Just going to use a bit of that same dark gray embroidery floss to tie just a knot on top of these tags. I always see people add tags and I always think they look so good, but I sometimes have a difficult time doing it. It doesn't always look so good whenever I do it. I actually had some of that still threaded, so it was really easy to use. put that needle up before I lose it. I have a little embroidery kit that I keep together, which makes it extremely easy to do that, to do the little stitching pieces. Still, other than the background, I've really been only using scraps this whole layout. And even the background honestly was a scrap because it wasn't a full 12 by 12. Playing around with the idea of doing a bit of journaling in the alphas, but it looks like it's just floating there and it just doesn't look right. And plus, I actually don't have the correct letters in order to do that. And I thought about using the white gel pen that I have, but with the fact that the cardstock is actually textured, like it's a textured background, it's not gonna be very clear and it's not very dark. So here's that Walking in a Winter Wonderland label that I have, and I'm gonna take off those rhinestones that look weird there, and then I'll cut them apart and use them in different places. I'm gonna put a few right here on this big heart that says, "You're my favorite dude." It's like that tag was really, or that heart was really made for this layout. It just fits so perfectly with the photo. And then I'm going to add a few on top of this around this cluster down here to the bottom left of the photo. And I'm adding one on top of that label, one on top of the camera, and then one kind of off to the side. Pardon me. It's so cold here. I'm actually like wrapped up in a blanket, and it's really not that cold. It's just cold compared to how it has been, so it feels freezing even though it's just in the low 40s. It's going to get much colder, so I really shouldn't complain because this is really going to be warm. Tomorrow is actually our Christmas parade. I know it's like super early, but we do it really early here. And it's actually kind of nice because it really is kind of the first thing that we do that puts us in the mood for Christmas. So I have family coming into town tonight as I do these voiceovers kind of late in the evening. I have family come in, driving into town right now, so it gives me something to do while I wait for them. And I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my journaling. I just kind of put it on a piece of scrap tag. It was a tag that I had cut, and it's just a scrap. So it says Kaylin's first big snow. It's kind of hit or miss here whether we get a lot of snow or not. We don't always, and so this actually, the year that this photo was taken, is actually really kind of the first big one we've had. I'm going to go ahead and adhere those tags down since I never actually stuck them down. And then I want to cover up the kind of the corner on that tag where you can see the deer head sticking out. It's just not really my style to have a deer head sticking out on my page, so I'm going to cover that up just with my little journaling spot. Or journaling tab, I guess you could say. My Winter Wonderland, I kept kind of trying it in a couple different places, but it's going to eventually end up exactly where it started out. Right there. I like this scrapbooking with a large photo. I don't do that a whole lot. I really like the way it looked. Still kind of shuffling through my scraps here. That tab that I'm using looks like it's just kind of floating. It needs something in the background. So it's blending in too much with the tag that it's sitting on top of. So I'm going to create a bit of a small border around the edge of it with this blue pattern paper. And then I'll just round the corners with my corner chomper as well. And that pretty much finishes it. I just have a few small final touches here. I am going to have some still photos here at the end for you. Please leave a comment if you'd like. Give me a thumbs up if you would, please, if you enjoyed this video. And also subscribe so you can see all the videos I have to come. I post usually around 3 times a week. I do haul videos, I do layouts, I do stash kits, I do monthly kits. I do a variety of things. So I really appreciate all of my viewers, and I love to hear from you. So please leave me a comment if you'd like. I read every single one of them, and I do reply to them as well. So thanks again, and just stay tuned for the still photos at the end. All right, guys, thanks. Bye.